Hello, welcome back to the Real World Garage. We're back today with the 2005 Honda Accord. We wanted to do a follow-up video, and we actually got our hands on that $9,000 estimate, and we're going to go over that in a few minutes. We actually wanted to go a little deeper in depth with their estimate, and we did brake inspection on the driver's side and a visual just through the wheel on the passenger side, and measured the brakes, and the brakes are between 10-11 on the rear and like 9/32 on the front. More than adequate brake pad left remaining on the vehicle. I'm going to bring you in a little closer, and we wanted to look back at our oil leak, which was the power steering pump. We wanted to make sure that we didn't have any problems there. So let's get in closer, and we'll show you that. Last time we had it, we did the hood shocks. You actually have to catch it. It's so good at bringing it up. But we checked the power steering pump, and there's no leaks from anywhere. None of the O-rings that we talked about in that earlier video. The body of the pump is dry, and where the shaft goes into the pump, not leaking any more oil. We have evaluated this engine and noticed that she does have oil seeps on this engine. There's not any what you would call a leak. It doesn't leave a puddle on the ground overnight that we've seen, but it does weep down out of the valve cover gasket. So we know it probably could use a set of valve cover gaskets, but there again, it's not dangerous as she was told at the dealer. We were unable to find the history of the timing belt, and if she had it done at the appropriate time before, it's probably due now. So we do know it probably could use a timing belt. And let's move over here and we'll show you. We did the battery cable when we had it here last, and we wanted to evaluate that and make sure all that was still good. No reason for it to change inside of a month. But we can zoom in, and that, I think they wanted $250 for this cable, and it's this little piece that runs back here and goes to a power point on the fuse box, and one main cable that goes down to the starter, and that's it. I think it may have taken us a little more than half an hour to change, and they wanted $250, and I think we paid, or she paid $20 for the cable, and then we put it on. So, but anyway, we're going to sit down in a few minutes and we're going to go over the $9,000 estimate. So y'all hang on. Okay, we're back. Kind of moved out away from everybody and everything, so we won't get interrupted, hopefully. We're sitting on the back of Project 210 wagon down the hill from the house a little ways. Let's talk about this estimate that they gave her. Now, I also want you to know that for this inspection and estimate, they charged her, didn't fix anything. They filled up her washer bottle and drove the car around the parking lot of the dealership. $149. Now I understand that a dealership a lot of times needs to charge something because they have a technician. He's taking his time and he's going to go and he's going to use his expertise and he's going to inspect the vehicle. Okay, but these people are familiar with this lady. They're familiar with this car. It's not the first time they've ever worked on it. She brings it in every 3 months to get the oil changed, and she drives about 1,000 miles between an oil change. Do they tell her, ma'am, we know we recommend every 1,000 miles, every 3 months or 3,000 miles, but you probably could go a little bit longer because you really don't have a lot of miles on this oil change. They don't tell her that. Just bring it in, charge her whatever the dealership price is for getting oil changed today. I've seen them in some dealerships here recently as high as $100. I don't think that's what she's paying to get her oil changed, but nevertheless, she doesn't make a lot of money. And like I said, these people at the dealership know this. Okay, so I'm not going to reveal the name of this dealer, by the way, because like I said, I've said it before, I don't need a liability suit, but I just want to go over a few of the things that they noted and talk about what I will agree with and what I won't agree with. Okay, all right, let's get into it. Keep the name down because I don't want to give anything away. I don't want to make any enemies. They found that the wiper blades were excessively worn or torn. They recommended replacing the spark plugs, replacing the timing belt, the water pump, tensioner, and drive belt. They found the cabin air filter excessively dirty, and they say they found broken engine mounts, found engine mount excessively worn or loose. Okay, all right, let's talk about these few things right here. She did need wiper blades, and we put a set of wiper blades on it for her when we did the hood struts and power steering pump and the battery cable, and we'll get into those in a minute. If she's had the plugs replaced at some point in the past, which judging on the history we were able to determine that it had been, she might be due a set of plugs. She also appears to be time for timing belt. And it is a good practice to go ahead and replace all of the other items that they mentioned, the pump, the tensioners, and of course the drive belt. It is a good practice to go ahead and replace all that, so I'm not going to argue that. Cabin air filter, we didn't argue that point. Maybe it needed a cabin air filter, and here's where I start having an issue. This is where I begin to have an issue. Replace front and rear engine mount and also the right engine mount. We inspected those mounts. I inspected them personally, and I did not see any movement at all other than some slight deflection in the rubber when checking the mounts. I spoke to her post-filming of this video. They told her that if she hit a bump, her engine could fall out. The engine doesn't shake, it doesn't vibrate. The engine doesn't rock around when you put it under torque load. I'm not seeing what they were seeing there. So, moving along. Again, we talked about the positive battery cable. It did need replacing. It was corroded at the top. It was getting to where it didn't want to hold the battery correctly, and you couldn't get it tight and to remain tight on the battery post, so they needed to replace it. $234.95. $234.95. Okay. I understand we went and bought, or she went and bought for us to put on an aftermarket cable. It was a pretty decent quality looking piece. $21.95. Took us a grand total, half an hour, maybe a little longer, to replace that, to get it correctly routed, put back in all the factory locations, and everything put back together. We replaced the power steering pump, and I don't know what she paid for that power steering pump, but I know it was less than $100 for the pump. Took us, and this is us doing it, never having changed one. You probably saw in the video where we had a couple of issues where we had to go in, and that's due to it being a reman pump. We had to fix thread holes. Through all of that, the actual time on replacing that power steering pump was not more than 2 hours, okay, at most. Well, they have her quoted at $809.93 to change the power steering pump. Stealership. It's just wrong. Again, I've said this before, they know this lady. They know she doesn't have this kind of money, okay? She's a widower. They know that too. I feel like they were trying to, it's really sickening to know that feel like you're being taken advantage of, and that's exactly what this feels like, because they were trying to take advantage of this lady. They wanted to replace the power steering suction hose clamps between the reservoir and the pump, and for multiple power steering leaks, at $91.99. We changed none of that, and all of that is dry right now. We just went and looked at it. You saw earlier in this video, it's dry, no leaks anywhere. Replace power steering rack and pinion in both outer tie rod ends. It says it has multiple power steering leaks. Okay, we have searched it over, and there are some damp spots on the boots of the power steering rack. Damp. There's not even a drip underneath it. We are looking at some of the engine oil leaks that the vehicle has. They're minor as they are, and some of that oil looks like it may be blowing back on the boots, so it could be attributed to that. So the rack doesn't have any slack. These outer tie rod ends, we couldn't find no slack. The steering is tight. Car drives is crisp. Car accelerates, handles great. For a vehicle with 185,000 miles, it handles great. There's nothing we can find wrong with it. They want $1,509.70 is what they're trying to hit her for. We're wanting to hit her for on a power steering rack that we don't feel like she needed. Okay, we drove the car. She occasionally has heard a clicking noise on the right side. Okay, everybody knows what that is with a front wheel drive car. More than likely it's a CV axle. Okay, we got the car with 3 of us in it, vehicle loaded up. We made a right hand turn. We heard it one time, and we drove the car probably 25 miles. Bumpy roads, uphill, downhill, left turn, right turn, left turn, right turn, repeated, and we heard it one time. And this is actually, if this is parts and labor, which I would hope it would be, is not that bad a price. I'll give them a little credit on this. It's $369.93 for a single CV axle. That's a fair shop price, parts and labor. They wanted nearly $60 to put a cabin air filter in. I've never done one. Do you have to take the dash apart? I don't know. Seems a little excessive to me. You can probably get a cabin air filter for $10 at most parts stores. So I'm not going to really argue that point. Maybe you got to do some really crazy stuff to get into the dash. Some cars it's that way. I'm not going to argue that point. They wanted $40 to put windshield wiper blades on it. If you get decent blades can be expensive. Okay, I'll concede that one. But here we go. They talked about, and I talked a minute ago about looking at the motor mounts. Well, further down, they give the quote to replace those mounts. Okay, they want for the replace front engine mount, found broken engine mount, $562.92. Replace rear engine mount, $419.93. Replace right engine mount, $339.95. You have right at $1,200 tied up in engine mounts that I can't find anything wrong with. My dad, who's had 50 years of experience, we looked at it, we rocked it back and forth, we moved it, we looked. He's not seeing anything that would justify replacing engine mounts. Like I said, no vibration in the car. When you accelerate, engine's not moving around, so I'm just not seeing it. All right, let's move around here. Okay, and this is where one of the things I did not have a large issue with. Okay, other than the fact that they're very easy to get to, and this seems a little excessive on the labor, but okay, in parts. But I know plugs can be expensive, but still. To do a basic spark plug replacement per the manufacturer standards, which the car probably is getting close. If she's had it done once, it's probably due for a second time now. There is no engine miss. Engine runs good, has plenty of power. They're asking $359.93. Okay, I'll give you that. That's probably a industry standard as a going price. It's a little high. I'm not going to go stealership on you like some of this other stuff is, but you know, $359.93. Recommended to get done. Probably needs to be done. Going to concede that one. And then they have the price for replacing the timing belt, water pump, and tensioner. This is also another one that I'm not going to rake them over the coals over. This is a pretty extensive job. Okay, a lot of the stuff off the front of the engine has to come off. I get it. It's $1,095 for that particular job. And as an industry standard with a V6, that's about the going price that you hear. Excuse me, it's about $1,000. High? Yeah, it is. All right. To replace both hood shocks, I think she bought the hood shocks and paid $15 to $20 a piece for them. It took us a grand total of, when I say that 5 minutes to change them, I'm not kidding. 5 minutes. You pop them off, take your little spring clip, pop it out, slide it off, pop the other one on, boom. 5 minutes for both of them. We were done. And this is parts and labor, $206.99. Come on, people. Come on. That's ridiculous. That's highway robbery. I know, I understand that actual dealer going to the parts store, as compared to going to the dealer, your parts are higher. I get that. You're getting OEM parts. I get it. They put the sway bar links on here. I checked the sway bar links. I couldn't find any slack in them. We've driven the car, or we've been on bumpy roads. $139.95. There again, not shooting for the moon on the price there. You know, it's going to take them a few minutes to change them. They're pretty straightforward, pretty easy. But the car didn't need them. That's the whole thing. The car doesn't need them, and they're trying to get her to do it. Next they had recommending the valve cover gaskets. Yes, the car probably needs valve cover gaskets. Okay, they are seeping. Okay, you can see where it's wet on the bottom side of both the valve covers, the end caps on the cylinder head. It's all wet. Okay, or damp. It's not enough that it will wash. It's washing off. Okay, it's just collecting there. It's enough that it's collecting dirt. If you have a leak that collects dirt, it's one that warrants watching until it gets a little worse. She's bringing the vehicle back every 3 months. She's getting the oil changed every 1,000 miles. You would think that they could check that when they bring it in. They do the multi-point inspection every time they bring one in to do an oil change, to try to upsell you on all the other stuff. They know this lady, they know her story, and they're trying to get over on her. That, or I think they're trying to run her to the front to make her think she needs to buy a new car. Okay, and they know she can, and she can't afford that. Let's see. They want to replace, and this seems like double dipping, because they already have it quoted over there to replace the drive belt and tensioner in another place, and they have it listed here to replace the serpentine belt, which is wide open on that side of the motor, wide open. Piece of cake, easy job. They want to replace the drive belt and the belt tensioner noisy. We hadn't touched it. It's not making any noise. We listened for it. We tried to listen for it. Okay. They want $509 to put a serpentine belt and a tensioner on this car. You've got to be kidding me. Okay. They recommending for her to put front brake pads. Okay. We drove the vehicle. It has a very light shimmy. The run out on the rotors is out a little bit. Probably could resurface the rotors and put it back on, and they would go on down the road fine. It's not a dangerous situation. It's just something that's annoying. Okay, but they want $251 to resurface rotors and put new pads on. We measured the pads. Pads measure out at 9/32 on the front, both sides. They look the same. Rotors are not cupped out. They're not grooved. There's nothing wrong with them other than being the run out on them is a little out. So you have a little shimmy. Okay, moving on along. Estimate subtotal with everything that they had on this list was $9,137.68. She told me out of her own mouth that they recommended her to get this car fixed, that it was dangerous for her to continue to drive the car in its current condition. Dangerous for her to continue to drive the car in its current condition. This car is not dangerous. This car does need some maintenance. Excuse me while I drop my papers. This car does need some work, but it's not dangerous. Okay? Folks, if you're not familiar with the automotive repair industry and you're carrying your car in and they give you something like this, take what they've given you and smile and say thank you, and find you an independent shop that others have been to, that others can recommend, that say that they feel like they've gotten a good work and they've gotten a fair shake, and that they don't feel like they were ripped off. Okay, it's people that stand behind their work. This kind of thing right here is what gives dealerships a bad name. This is what gives auto mechanics a bad name. I know there's a lot that goes into a dealership. I know there's a lot of overhead. I get all that. But this is beyond ridiculous. Don't get taken to the cleaners. Ask a bunch of questions. Make them show you. Make them show you everything that they're trying to tell you. Make them show you and tell you why it's bad. Don't just take their word for it. We thank you for coming to the Real World Garage. We always try to keep it real here at the Real World Garage. We always want to tell it like it is. Even if I have to tell on the ones that I have to associate with. It makes me sad to have to associate with them. It really does. We'd like for you to go down there and hit the like button, comment if you've got a question. I always try to get back to everybody who comments. Sometimes they get by me, but I try hard. I really do, guys. And please subscribe. Thanks for coming along. Y'all have a great day.